Entitled Bus Confrontation, Karen Attacks, Accusing Me of Faking My Disability. It happened last night, and it was so tumultuous that I couldn't write at the time. Now, in the morning, still hurting, I need to share everything. At 30, looking younger, I suffer from chronic back pain, making it challenging to move without a cane. Additionally, I face the challenges of autism and severe anxiety. With no clear diagnosis, I have been seeking treatment, trying various forms of relief, except surgery, still pending evaluation. The struggle to find a physical therapist who would accept my public insurance was long, until recently. The incident I'm reporting occurred after my first physical therapy session. Last night, returning from an appointment with my car having issues, the need to use the bus arose. That's when the infamous Karen boarded. Upon noticing few available seats, she targeted me, accusing me of faking my disability. She claimed I didn't need the cane I was holding and demanded my seat, arguing that she needed it more. She tried to disqualify my condition as attention-seeking, blaming today's youth. The attempt to explain that my cane was essential due to my back pain after physical therapy was in vain. Karen intensified the attack, snatched my cane, and threw it away, insisting that I stop pretending. Without the cane, getting up from the chair became a challenge, while Karen humiliated me, shouting that I was just pretending. The episode was humiliating, reigniting the hatred for the invisibility of my disability. Feeling ashamed, I exposed Karen's aggression, hoping to raise awareness about the difficulties I face. This brought back memories of my previous job, where one of my managers also accused me of faking my injury. However, in all my experiences, no one has spoken to me the way this lady was talking. The so-called Karen continued to berate me, demanding that I get up and stop faking my injury, claiming I was just a useless addict faking it to get painkillers. She went as far as threatening to report me to the state for fraud. At that moment, I was trembling and on the verge of tears. All I wanted was to get off the bus entirely and call home to see if someone could pick me up, as it was the last bus of the night. I struggled to get to my seat, planning to use the seats for support to reach my cane at the back of the bus. That's when my legs gave way, a wave of pain surged through my back, and I ended up falling face first. The so-called Karen jumped out of the way and accused me of trying to attack her, kicking me in the side, screaming that I needed to be thrown off the bus and arrested. From that moment on, everything became a blur. I cried from the humiliation of the situation and the impact of the fall. The pain intensified, making it difficult to focus on anything. Surprisingly, other passengers stood up, some helped me get up and checked if I was okay. Screams and shouts filled the bus, and the driver appeared, joining the situation. The so-called Karen was kicked off the bus, dragged by two passengers while screaming that I was faking and that it was dangerous, always playing the victim. The driver closed the doors, ignoring Karen's pleas to return. He came to where I was sitting, concerned about my condition. He asked if I needed to go to the hospital, contact someone, or call the police. I just cried, asking to go home, apologizing repeatedly for causing trouble. The driver, understanding, stated that he wouldn't let Karen back, even if I left. He offered to drop me off at the next stop, preventing me from being alone with Karen while waiting for a ride. At that moment, I struggled to control my emotions. And I kept repeating incessantly that I was sorry and wanted to go home. Eventually, she nodded and went back to her seat at the front, ready to leave. Throughout all this time, the so-called Karen still hammered the doors, trying to open them again, screaming like a lost soul. I ended up staying on the bus until we reached my stop in my neighborhood. I got off the bus, went home, and simply lay in my bed, crying until I fell asleep. Now it's morning, and the kick from the so-called Karen hurt, for sure, but there was no bruising when I checked upon waking up. Fortunately, it seems there was no physical damage, but I still feel hurt and humiliated by the whole incident. I already hate that my disability prevents me from doing many things and how challenging it is not only to figure out what's wrong with me but also to try to get things back to normal in my life. My entire day is basically scheduled around how well or poorly I am managing the pain. I had to cancel more attempts to go out with my friends than I'd like to admit. So, it hurts deeply when someone accuses me of faking an injury, even if she didn't. Overall, I just wish none of this had happened. What a terrible circumstance to be stuck in. I can't imagine being in public and someone literally attacking you, stealing your cane, and throwing it on the bus just because they don't think you're disabled enough to sit where you are. How unpleasant can someone be? I am sincerely surprised that the original poster didn't call the police. If I were in their place, I would have immediately called the police and reported this lady. There were more than enough witnesses to put her behind bars, or honestly, that Karen deserves to be. I hope you can figure out what's wrong with your back and find some peace in your life. What you described sounds truly horrible, and I genuinely hope nothing like this happens again. I didn't pay much attention at the time because they are still friends, and I didn't want to create a big problem. However, about a month later, the issue arose again. There was a newly released movie, and it's relevant to mention that this girl is not from our country but from the country where the film was produced. This film is very popular where she lives. My boyfriend suddenly became obsessed with this film, expressing the desire to watch it with this girl, as it is from where she is and is very funny. A few months later, during a random conversation, I asked him about other girls he had gone out with. He mentioned the ex I already knew, as well as this other girl he constantly talks to. He told me they watched this movie but that I shouldn't worry because they were just friends now. It might be an exaggeration to analyze this, but when he mentioned the movie for the first time, I remember him saying that he would love to watch it with her, and the word love caught me by surprise. At the time, I didn't pay much attention. Between then and now, they probably went to his house and watched the movie. Now, I work a lot, and he has a lot of free time, so it's entirely possible. Also, I would have been okay with that, and he knows I would have been okay if he had told me. However, watching a movie with someone he had an affair with, and who probably still had feelings for him when we were together, without informing me, bothered me deeply. Moving on to last night, we were lying in bed, spending time together, and he mentions that this girl is going to call. He tries to get me to sleep, but after mentioning that, it's impossible for me to fall asleep. Although she didn't call, he fell asleep before me. My gut feeling is strong, and I decide to check his phone to see what the messages say because the situation seems suspicious. It's important to note that he goes through my phone all the time, but when I approach him, he suddenly hides his. I never press to see his phone because it's his choice to share it. However, his interaction with this girl is becoming worrisome. I go there, unlock the phone, and start reading the messages. When I get to the night we watched the movie, I realize the messages were normal. However, there were expressions like "I miss you a lot," something I don't fully understand. He asks her to call, and she agrees to call that night before I leave. We hug each other and spend some time talking about the movie. We just watched, and we were close to each other. It was already time for her to reply, but he only saw the message when I left. So, he told her that he fell asleep, didn't mention that we were finishing the movie or talking. The worst part is that he didn't even mention that his girlfriend was leaving, which would have been appropriate. I kept reading their messages, and he is suggesting that they should talk soon or even go out for coffee. He expresses missing her and talks a lot about his feelings, which I didn't read completely at that moment because there was a lot, and I didn't want to get caught. However, I plan to take pictures tonight with my phone and read them later. Now I understand that it's private, but I couldn't prevent it even if I tried. He sees all the messages and notifications. Honestly, it seems like he's projecting now. I'm not accusing him of cheating, but I consider it betrayal to hide something from a partner that involves another person. We don't need to know every conversation, but it shouldn't be something that needs to be hidden in a relationship. All of this is so confusing, and I really don't know what to do in this situation. What should I do? It seems a lot like your boyfriend having a second girlfriend. He's saying things like "I miss you" and wants to go out with this girl. Basically, he is seeing someone else, and the fact that he hides the phone whenever you approach or try to access it is a big red flag, in my opinion. It seems like he's projecting his own insecurities, which is not fair to you. I advise taking a good look at this relationship because from what you've described, he doesn't seem to be faithful. Something dark seems to be going on. My partner is threatening to leave me because he is convinced that I have a drinking problem, although I definitely don't, and at this moment, I don't know what to do. I am a 36-year-old woman, and I have been with my 41-year-old partner for about 4 years. In the early days of the relationship, we used to go out a lot and drink, go to the pub, among other things. However, since we moved in together, he became obsessed with the amount of alcohol I consume. I have always drunk moderately, and he knew that before we got together. It wasn't a secret. Initially, he had no problems with it, but when we started living together, he began to control the amount I drank. First, I had to stop drinking during the week and was only allowed on weekends. Second, when we went out, I could only order the same drink as him, and I could only get another drink when he finished his. All this was done so he could monitor how much I was drinking. Third, I had to keep track of what I drank and calculate the number of units. Not only that, but he also said we needed to exercise more and even created a workout program for me, even when I said I didn't want to. He then became moody and made me feel guilty until, finally, I gave in and just did what he wanted. He claims he's acting for my own good, seeking to ensure a healthy lifestyle. However, honestly, I don't feel like I have much of a choice. This was my decision. He has 2 children from a previous relationship, and on weekends when they are with us, when I express a desire to visit family or friends, he makes serious accusations. He claims that I only want to go out so I can secretly get drunk, choosing alcohol over spending more time with him and his kids. He constantly tells me that I'm obsessed with alcohol and apparently have a serious drinking problem, insisting that I need help. I have been seeing a therapist for over a year, all because he has now convinced me that I have a problem. Every time I try to do something social, I'm accused of wanting to do it only to get drunk. We have had numerous discussions about this, reaching a critical point at the end of last year when he said I had to choose between him or alcohol. I decided to say that I would stop drinking to avoid looking pathetic and reinforcing the idea that I have an imaginary problem. However, after nearly 9 months without drinking alcohol, I realize health benefits, but I am not truly happy with the fact that it was not my decision. I feel forced, cornered, and threatened to make this decision. I never actually wanted to completely stop drinking because I enjoyed an occasional drink and appreciated some beers after work or even wine with dinner. I discovered that I'm just feeling very resentful and angry about the situation. I haven't had a single drink for almost 9 months, and I know I don't have issues with alcohol. I don't find it fair to be subjected to this kind of ultimatum. I try to argue with him, but he refuses to change his mind, insisting that I now have to decide between him or alcohol. Unfortunately, we have a house together and have invested a lot in it. I feel trapped in a lifestyle choice I didn't make. If I break up with him, he will tell everyone that it was because I was a raging alcoholic or something like that. What should I do? It seems like your partner is being overly controlling. The way he acts is just ridiculous, and this controlling behavior is a huge red flag. He is manipulating the situation, making you believe you have a drinking problem, even leading you to therapy for something you don't have. This is not fair, and you don't deserve to live like this. Perhaps it's time to establish healthy boundaries because this man hasn't allowed you choices regarding changes in your lifestyle. You are an adult and can make these decisions for yourself. It would be different if you had a problem and it negatively impacted the relationship, but from what it seems, your partner has unilaterally decided that you have a problem. This is becoming an issue now, and I will insist that you resolve this situation. It's something very strange and, in my opinion, a big red flag. So, I think it's crucial that you reassess what is happening and clearly define your limits, considering what you genuinely feel comfortable with. What you described seems somewhat vague, and I hope this gets resolved soon. The guy I'm dating told me on the second date that he is absolutely obsessed with me and completely in love. However, I'm a bit lost on how to handle this situation since it happened suddenly, and I'm still processing. I've been single for almost a year after a traumatic breakup with my ex, who never expressed his feelings. After a recovery period, I started dating a rebound, and he expressed his feelings for me, but things didn't progress. Now, I'm involved with someone named John, fake name, whom I've been talking to for about 2 weeks. Things are going well, I'm emotionally in a better place, and I feel like I can be more vulnerable. On our second date, John surprised me by saying he is obsessed and deeply in love with me. While I usually thank and express appreciation, this time I felt overwhelmed. If it were a friend, I wouldn't feel the same way. I'm seeking perspective because I'm not comfortable with this level of intensity so early in the relationship. The time we spend together is limited, and he barely knows me, but he's already obsessively in love. He claims never to have met someone who makes him feel so good. This doesn't seem healthy, and I feel it might be immature, perhaps due to a lack of experience in relationships. I need someone who takes it slow, invests in mutual growth and discovery, rather than forcing a quick escalation in the relationship. I'm confused and don't know what to do. Funny how two people, a month into dating, express such intense feelings. Maybe I'm doing something right, but honestly, I'm not sure. This situation makes me somewhat uncomfortable. If you feel any connection with this guy and think that maybe it's better to slow down a bit, I consider it appropriate to have an honest conversation with him. You could approach him by saying something like, "Hey, I think we could take it a bit slower. What do you think?" However, I agree with the original poster, it's too early to express such intense feelings. This could indicate inexperience or even an attempt at manipulation, which could potentially cause problems later. If you're still interested in making things work with John, I suggest being honest and straightforward, saying something like, "I also think you're great, but I'd prefer things to progress more slowly." You can take a friendly approach and express flattery, but make it clear that you want things to evolve at a more relaxed pace. I hope he understands, but if not, it's important that you find someone willing to go at your pace. This is a really delicate position, especially when you're trying to recover and start dating again. Thanks for sharing, and subscribe for more stories. Make sure to activate notifications by hitting the bell so you won't miss any content from the playlist at the top of the description. Thank you very much for sticking around until the end of this HistoReddit channel video. I hope you enjoyed the stories and reflections shared. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell to not miss any content. Share it with your friends and family too, helping to expand the community. Your participation is crucial. Until the next video.